Some kept comparing his life to people on social media. He felt like a failure. One day his father said, "You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel." Some stopped comparing and he focused on improving himself. Some was a young man who carried the weight of the world on his shoulders, a world he viewed almost exclusively through the glowing screen of his smartphone. Every morning, before his feet even touched the cool wood of his bedroom floor, he would reach for his device. His day began not with his own thoughts or plans, but with an endless scroll through the lives of others. He saw his old high school acquaintance, Mark, standing on a pristine beach in Bali, the turquoise water a stark contrast to the gray, rainy morning outside Sam's own window. He saw his cousin, Jessica, celebrating a major promotion at a high-end restaurant, clinking champagne glasses with beaming colleagues. He saw a college friend, Leo, showcasing a brand new sports car, its cherry red paint gleaming under the California sun. With each post, each picture, and each celebratory caption, a small piece of Sam's own self-worth seemed to chip away, leaving him feeling hollow and inadequate. The comparison was a constant, buzzing presence in his mind, like a relentless insect he couldn't swat away. When he made his simple breakfast of toast and coffee, he couldn't help but picture the artisanal avocado toast and the perfectly crafted lattes that populated his feed. When he sat down at his desk to work on his modest graphic design projects, his mind would drift to the glamorous, high-profile campaigns his online peers seemed to be landing effortlessly. His own achievements, once a source of pride, now felt small and insignificant. A successfully completed project for a local business felt like a childish drawing next to the Mona Lisa of another career milestone. He started to believe that his life was a series of unremarkable moments, a bland and colorless landscape compared to the vibrant, exciting adventures everyone else was apparently living. This constant, internal monologue of inadequacy began to cast a long, dark shadow over every aspect of his existence. He became quieter at family gatherings, his laughter less frequent, his eyes often distant as he mentally measured his own life against the curated perfection he consumed daily. He felt like a failure. The feeling wasn't a sudden storm but a slow, creeping fog that had gradually enveloped him. It distorted his perception of reality, making his own path seem like a dead-end street while everyone else appeared to be cruising down a superhighway to success and happiness. He started to doubt his choices, his talents, and his very potential. Was he not smart enough? Not ambitious enough? Not charismatic enough? These questions echoed in the silent chambers of his mind, especially late at night when the distractions of the day faded away. He looked at his own social media profile and he saw a collection of ordinary moments, a picture with his dad, a snapshot from a family barbecue, a photo of a book he was reading. It felt painfully mundane, a testament to a life lived in the slow lane. The joy he once felt in these simple pleasures was now tainted by the feeling that they were grand enough, not share-worthy enough to compete in the silent, invisible contest he was constantly waging. This feeling of failure began to paralyze him. He found it difficult to start new projects, fearing they would never be as good as what he saw online. He hesitated to share his own work, convinced it would be met with indifference or, worse, quiet judgment. His passion for design, which had once been a bright, burning fire, was now reduced to flickering embers, threatened with extinguishment by the constant winds of comparison. He was stuck, trapped in a cycle of scrolling, comparing, and despairing. He was living his life from the sidelines, an observer of other people's triumphs while his own potential lay dormant, overshadowed by his deep-seated belief that he simply didn't measure up. His world had shrunk to the size of his phone screen, and within that small frame, he saw only one recurring theme, his own glaring inadequacy. He was an actor in his own life story, but he felt like he was constantly forgetting his lines, stuck backstage while others took their triumphant bows. One day, after a particularly difficult morning spent watching highlight video of a former classmate's luxurious wedding, Sam was sitting in the living room, staring blankly at the wall. The usual vibrant energy that characterized him was gone, replaced by a heavy, listless aura. His father, a man of few words but keen observation, walked in with 2 cups of tea. He had noticed the change in his son over the past few months. He saw the dimming light in his eyes, the forced smiles, and the constant, almost compulsive attachment to his phone. He sat down opposite Sam, placing a cup in front of him. After a few moments of shared silence, he spoke, his voice calm and steady. Sam, he began, his gaze meeting his son's weary eyes. It looks like you're carrying a heavy burden. You seem to be lost in thought, and not the happy kind. Sam just shrugged, taking a sip of the warm tea. He didn't know how to articulate the complex web of envy, anxiety, and the self-doubt that had ensnared him. How could he explain that he felt like a failure because someone he barely knew was on a perpetual vacation, or because an old friend had a seemingly perfect family? It sounded petty, even to him. But his father, with the wisdom that comes from a lifetime of experience, seemed to understand without needing a detailed explanation. He leaned forward slightly, his expression one of deep empathy and concern. You spend so much time looking at what everyone else is doing, his father continued gently, watching their successes, their travels, their happy moments all lined up in a row. It's like you're sitting in a dark theater, watching movie after movie of their greatest hits. He paused, letting the words sink in. He then delivered the line that would fundamentally alter Sam's perspective, a simple yet profound observation that chewed through the fog of his confusion. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. The words hung in the air between them, simple, yet powerful enough to feel like a physical jolt. A highlight reel. That's exactly what it was. The curated, filtered, and the perfectly edited snippets of life that people chose to display. It wasn't the full movie. It wasn't the struggles, the doubts, the boring days, the arguments, or the moments of failure. It was just the best parts, the polished trophies placed on a digital shelf for the world to see. And his own life? He was living the behind the scenes. He was experiencing the unedited, raw footage in its entirety, the messy first drafts, the moments of uncertainty, the mundane daily routines, the quiet struggles, and the small, unglamorous victories. He was comparing his complete, complex, and the often messy reality with the carefully constructed facade of others. The realization dawned on him like the sun breaking through a dense layer of storm clouds. He had been playing an unwinnable game, a rigged contest where he was a judge, jury, and the defendant all at once, always finding himself guilty of not being good enough. With that newfound clarity, Sam stopped comparing. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but a conscious, deliberate choice he made every single day. He started by curating his own digital environment, unfollowing accounts that triggered his anxiety, and instead following artists, thinkers, and the creators who inspired him and shared their processes, including the struggles. He put his phone away for the first hour of every morning, using the time to read, sketch, or simply sit with his own thoughts. He rediscovered the joy of his own behind-the-scenes moments. He started to appreciate the quiet satisfaction of finishing a small project, the comfort of a conversation with his family, the simple pleasure of a walk in the park with his dog. These were the real, tangible parts of his life, not the fleeting, glossy images on a screen. Instead of measuring his progress against the polished outcomes of others, he focused on improving himself. He enrolled in an advanced online course for digital animation, a skill he had always wanted to learn but had been too intimidated to pursue. He dedicated an hour each day to this new craft, not because we wanted to create a spectacular highlight to post online, but because we was genuinely curious and passionate about the learning process itself. He started a personal project, a short animated film based on a story he had written as a child. It was his own vision, his own journey. There was no more external benchmark to live up to, only his own desire to bring his idea to life. He found a new sense of purpose not in the potential for applause, but in the quiet, steady work of creation. He began sharing his progress, not as a highlight, but as a part of his journey, posting sketches, drafts, and even mistakes. He found a small community of other artists who appreciated the authenticity and offered genuine encouragement. He was no more longer a passive spectator of other people's lives. He was the active director of his own. Moral: comparison steals happiness. Focus on your own journey,